kind of talked about this in social studies.
Good, and I'm glad you guys did. I actually wanted to talk about that. So, you guys have social studies that's Myers, and you guys talked probably a lot about the 1960s, that kind of stuff. So I don't want to focus too much on the historical nature of this kind of stuff, but maybe more as how this speech relates to the English language. To what extent is it a rhetorical argument? So I've got these three letters up here. Have you guys ever done this? The WA method. So the idea here is it helps us understand what is this guy saying, right? What is King saying in I Have a Dream? So has anyone done this before? Rob?
Yeah, I think the W means what?
Very good, very good. So the W is for what? So what exactly is that communicating? What we're asking is, what is being said directly? What did you guys notice in this speech? And let's just focus for right now on the first two paragraphs. So what was being said there? Allie?
It sounds like he's saying that they're being oppressed.
Very good. Anything else? So I'll write that up here, oppression. Anybody else? Libby?
He talks about the injustice of the people.
Very good. Injustice. So we can think about those things as the whats. I mean, these are the things he's just directly talking about. The H is the second step. And this is where it gets a little more difficult to think about. But does anyone have any guesses what the H is? Rob, you've done this before. What is it?
It's how.
How. Good. So what we mean here is how are these ideas being expressed? How is King communicating oppression and injustice? Do we have any thoughts about that? I mean, what were some of the things you guys noticed in these first two paragraphs that stood out to you? Libby?
Well, he used a lot of symbols and stuff to show images. So when we thought about it.
Very good, and you're way ahead of me because I was gonna talk about some of the things we mentioned last week, like symbols. So what were some of those symbols?
He has manacles and chains.
Good. So symbolism is a technique, right? And he's using manacles and chains to describe oppression. Was there anything else? Any buzzwords from last week we talked about? Allie?
Metaphors.
Metaphors, very good. Can you remind everyone what metaphors are?
It's saying that something is something else.
Good. So what's an example in this context of a metaphor you saw?
A manacle or a chain.
Right. So these are, in some way, they're symbols, but they're metaphors for human civil rights in the 60s in this country. Very good. So I think you guys are catching on to that pretty well. How about this A? Now, does anyone besides Rob have any guesses what the A might stand for? The A is, am I impressed? This one's a little bit tougher to think about. But basically what we're asking is, did these methods, these techniques, did they affect me in any way? I mean, how did they make me feel when I read this? Am I impressed? What's my impression of the text and of these methods?
They made me think a lot about the symbols and stuff that he was talking about and how it related to the oppression that they were feeling.
Very good, very good. So manacles made you feel a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
And how did that make you feel?
It made me sad because I don't want to be chained up like these people were.
Good, that's very good. It sort of made an image in your mind. That's very good. And so you'd agree that this stuff was pretty effective, that King was getting his point across effectively. Very good. So I'm glad some of you have seen this before. This is going to be really important next week when we're writing our papers about this topic. I want you guys to be able to analyze this text and talk about how symbols and methods relate to what King is saying and whether or not you thought it was effective. It's just an important skill for the analysis we'll be doing all year. So I just want to make sure you guys have got this. Does anyone mind if I erase this? So, Rob, what does that W stand for again?
What?
Very good. What? Allie, how about that H?